Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm still going on the series, drawing from the parable that Jesus told that we popularly know as the prodigal son. The aim of it all is to remind that one person perhaps who started out with love in their heart for God and for His kingdom, but for whatever reason you decided to walk away. I've got this one message for you. It's time to come home. Today I'll be talking about something I'll call working for the enemy. Have you heard of something called Stockholm Syndrome? It's a term used by mental health specialists, psychiatrists, and things of that sort. They talk about a situation where someone who is in an oppressed position, say a captive or something, or a kidnapped victim, whatever, developing a level of understanding or bonding or even falling in love with their oppressors. Well, something like that happened to this young man in the story. In Luke chapter 15, verse 15, the Bible says he went to work for a certain man in that country. The picture here is that the young man left home, left his family's culture, belief system, safety, and everything, and went into a country where the culture was opposite, not just different, but completely opposing to where he came from. How do I know this? Where he went, the farmer he was going to work for was raising pigs. In the Hebrew Jewish culture, they weren't allowed to consume pigs. So having pigs was wrong for them. It was a defilement. So that culture that this young man went to associate with was opposite to where he came from, opposite to the culture of his upbringing. It was opposite to the culture of his upbringing. But now, because his resources have failed, his wealth has expired, he finds himself in a situation where he feels compelled to go against his nature, his upbringing, to the extent of getting involved in something that would have been considered an abomination for him. So the story goes that he sought and got employment in the country where he was away from home. I have a question for you. Have you noticed that most of the people who are good at antagonizing the church and pointing out our flaws, antagonizing Christianity, antagonizing Christian faith, they were people who were Christians at some point? It's either that or they had Christian upbringing and they were exposed to Christian teachings and Christian lifestyles. But at some point, they deviated and now they work for the enemy. They are the best critics. Every flaw in any Christian anywhere is easy for them to pick it out, and they have no reservations with regards to talking about it. They're now working for the enemy, just like the boy in the story. Now, I am quite sure that most of them did not initially intend to do that, but just by providing acceptance or finding acceptance in another culture that is antithetical to what they've always known, finding someone in that space where their rebellion is drawing them to makes them feel accepted, and they are hooked. Even if it's a bad relationship, sometimes it is very difficult to break. People who find themselves in that situation, it's because they wanted something that they thought they were not getting from home, but they found it in this culture that was light versus dark for them. They know they shouldn't be there, but because someone at some point said, I accept you, come in, come on, no worries, just come on, no rules required or no restrictions, and they feel accepted. And even when they discover that the relationship is bad, they find it difficult to break it up. That's because the human need to belong is very great. We might try to, talk big around it and give the impression that we don't need anyone, but that need to be connected, to belong, is a very powerful, basic human need. And once someone accepts you, you are hooked, and that's how it starts. You will find yourself doing things you never thought you would for that person who accepts you, even if that person, as you know deep in your soul, is evil. Like many that leave home, oftentimes it's not because we have found the truth or that we want to be evil. We don't necessarily make that choice to start with. Or quite often it's because, like in the story of the younger son, we feel frustrated with the current situation. We want something different, but we feel the rules and culture of our upbringing is limiting us. So out of frustration, we want something different. And that's perfectly understandable. But by the time we find ourselves alone and our resources all gone, the idea of returning home becomes challenging sometimes. The idea that I could have been wrong. I could have been wrong. The idea that those judgy church people could have been right sometimes is too much a burden. Sometimes it's not because you haven't noticed that things are not going as you thought they would, but the thought of coming back home wrong, facing the people who warned you, having to give ground to, having to admit that you were in error, sometimes can be such a big burden to bear. Because if it turns out that they were right, which I now know they are, then it means I was wrong, even though I felt I had every right to do what I did. We prefer to be wrong and be on principle just to prove a point. than admitting that someone else was right to restrict us in the beginning. That's called defiance. We start out with frustration, wind up with defiance, and then that defiance leads us into situations that create desperation. Have you noticed that this is what you are slowly becoming? You are slowly going down the path of resentment. You are slowly becoming more and more desperate to belong and to be loved by someone, anyone, to the extent that you are now considering working for the enemy. Have you noticed that? That's what's happening to you. Admitting to yourself that you are in the wrong is a great part of fixing the problem. I've heard someone say, or people have said, that a problem identified is a problem half solved. If you realize that you are in the wrong and you are becoming desperate, you left home and now things are not looking so great, and you are becoming desperate enough to consider doing something that you swore at one point in your life you would never do. You are becoming desperate. You are beginning to consider changing sides. I'm thinking that you have gone far enough. It's about time to rethink your strategy. It's about time to review how things have been going for you. It's so much easier to make your family the bad guys. It's part of the defiance spectrum. You label the people who loved you the bad guys simply because they tried to correct you. They tried to point out something that you were doing, you felt you had the right to, but was actually in error. If you find that it's easier for you to label your family the bad guys rather than go back home, it's a sign that your mind has been turned around and you are in the process of searing your conscience. And once your conscience is seared, the sense of right and wrong that you used to have will be reversed. You'll be discarded completely, and then you become an enemy of the people you once loved and who once loved you, because of the convenience of avoiding going back and making someone else look right and yourself wrong. Again, as I said, you are in a position, in a state of mind where you prefer to be wrong on principle, just to stay on principle. But I know I can confidently say that that is not what you really want. Your desire is not really to work for the enemy. Your aim is not to work for the devil. But out of desperation in your situation, you are considering doing that. My plea is this: don't go to work for the enemy. Don't make it easier for the devil to drag your soul down to hell with him. Your greatest need is to belong, right? Isn't it? Your greatest need is to be loved, to be appreciated, to be protected and kept safe in this world of famine, well, your place at the Father's side is still yours. There's unconditional love from the Father to you. It's still there. Your place at the side of the Father has not been filled. That space is still waiting for you. It is time to come home.